Just a quick follow-up to my previous video about the Lightsaber mod. I didn't show you what the other colors did, and I thought I should show you. Now, this is purple, and hopefully, based on my drawing, my schematic, you would have an idea of what this is going to do, but I'll show you. Oh. Ooh, that's new. Ooh. Well, I guess I'm going to have to go investigate that. So, an impromptu troubleshooting video. Just going to put that in like so. Alright. Here is the stock blade. Turns on white as expected, no problems. Here is my mod blade. The first segment's not lighting up anymore. We need to go figure out what happened. Now, the areas that I touched to apply this mod do not include the transistor that fires off the electricity to that first bank. But apparently, that first transistor is now broken, I guess, or there's a bad connection. I don't know. That's what this is all about. It's about getting in and seeing what broke. Let's zoom in a little bit. Is that going to be good enough? Sure. Alright, 4 transistors. The first bank is going to be, I think, this one, or it might be that one. We'll have to figure out. They're marked Y2. Just flipping it over. Yeah, let's multimeter it real quick. Oh, I'm on voltage. How about now? Okay. Is there a connection there? Alright. Common anode, so if I go here, of course I may have the wrong. I need something to support this while I probe. Okay, so that one, which has a little extra blob of solder on it, maybe I just reflow it. Okay. So we know it's this transistor driving this pin, which drives the first bank of LEDs. Now, I could try just reflowing the solder on some of this stuff and see if that fixes it. It almost certainly won't, but we have to figure this out one step at a time. I haven't started reflowing yet, but something I'm seeing... are those two pads, these two here, electrically connected? It kind of looks like it. I'm gonna double check that real quick. They are. They are? Alright, that is probably the problem. I hope. So, we in focus. I'm going to bring in a little flux here. And I'm just going to reflow those two pads. Now we bring it up again. And I think I see a gap between those two now. Come back down here. Where's that silly multimeter to keep throwing to the side? Okay. All right. That might have been it. So before I do anything else, I'm just gonna package this back up and plug the thing in. Okay, moment of here we go. Hey, it's back. Look at that. Brilliant. So this was interesting. What happened? Bring in the notepad. So those are NPN transistors. So the way they work is power comes in through here, not pointing in, so they're pointing out. The emitter goes here like that to ground. There is your base. Okay. So power comes in through here. This is the collector. It comes out through here. This is the emitter. And this pin is the base. It controls whether or not electricity can flow between the collector and the emitter. So when the base goes, when there's power on the base, that it can flow through the emitter to ground. So as long as there's an ability for electricity to flow in this direction, like that, that will turn the transistor on. Now, the transistor looks like this. And we had two of them next to each other. And which was it? This one was dead, right? It was not working because these two pins were bridged. Well, what are those two pins? We have, I'm looking at the data sheet here off to the side. We have the collector, the base, and the emitter. The emitter connects to ground. So essentially this base pin was being brought low to ground through the emitter of the pin next to it, because these two were connected. So no matter what signal was being sent to this base pin here, it wasn't going through the transistor. It was just going straight to ground. It was as if there was a connection between base and emitter. Granted, base on one pin, on one transistor, emitter on the other transistor, but all the emitters are connected together. Point being that base and emitter were shorted, essentially, and this transistor wasn't getting any signal through its base pin. It was getting brought down to ground through the emitter before it even went into the transistor. The transistor was never turning on. That was the problem. And it just took reflowing the solder on those two pads with a little bit of extra flux to get the solder spread out and not touching. So, now the question is, why did it happen now? Why did this not happen sooner? Well, when I was probing, right, between these two pins here, I was seeing something about like 6 ohms of resistance. That looks like a G. 6 ohms of resistance, which when you have your probes that close to each other, that's a lot of resistance. There should not be that much resistance. So my guess is that there was a very, very tiny, just a tiny little sliver of solder connecting those two. And the resistance was high enough that this transistor was still turning on, even though some of the electricity was being sent to ground. And then either through heat buildup, it created it melted a little bit of the solder, creating a thicker bridge until eventually it was too much, and 6 ohms was enough to carry the current to ground and not pass it through the transistor. That's what I'm going to tell myself anyways. It could also be that I was just in there poking around with a soldering iron and accidentally clipped it by accident, but now we have that. Brilliant. So while I'm here, since this is not going to be a complete waste of your time, let me cover a couple of things real quick about the mod that I talked about in my last video. I didn't cover purple. What happens when you have a purple crystal? Well, hopefully, while looking at that schematic that I showed in the last video, you would be able to figure that out, but you don't have to be able to read schematics. You can just do it and see what happens. Like this. Purple is now pink. It is, to me, the same pink color as you get with the white crystal. So purple or white will give you a pink crystal. Why am I taking that out? Let me just do 2 other things real quick, because there were questions about the other colors. What do red and green now look like? Well, green should just look like green, except it maybe is a little bit dimmer. So maybe if you had this next to somebody with a green blade, theirs might look a little brighter. Let me bring in the stock, because that actually looked like it was a little bit lighter in color. No. Color's fine. So it might be a little bit dimmer compared to others, but just a little bit, almost barely noticeable. So what about red? Red should be a little bit brighter than stock. To me, a stronger red. But let's again get the stock blade in. I'd say it's about the same. Yeah, it's just brightness. So that is what the other colors will do. Anything else that I need to cover? Questions about clash colors. So when... Come on, get in there. When the... when, you know, 2 blades hit each other, there's going to be a clash effect. We can simulate. Oh, there we go. Let's try and not let the switch fall off. So to me, with the green kyber crystal, the clash color looks red to me. Maybe if I play... Why am I taking that out? So maybe if you play that in slow-mo, maybe there's a frame that you'll be able to see. How about yellow? What was the clash for yellow? I think it was white. So the clash now should actually be pink. If I can get this stupid crystal in there. Get in there! You would think by now I'd be used to this and have all the secrets. But I don't, because I'm too lazy. Orange blade. White clash. Looks a little pink to me, as expected. Point being that, you know, whatever the color of the clash is, think of that as it too is modified as if the blade was that solid color. So a white clash is now pink, a red clash, or an orange clash, a yellow clash is now orange. An orange clash, I didn't know that green did orange. To me it was always yellow, but somebody said it was orange. But orange would then become more red because you have, if yellow becomes orange, orange becomes red. Okay, enough sense. I think that's it. Wasted enough of your time. Good luck.